Is it Airdronian? Some people
It
are
is
upset about it. Or
Airdronian.
is it Airdriite?
No, it's absolutely Airdronian.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, this debate took place with...
There was an actual debate on this?
There was an actual
Really?
debate. Welcome back to another episode of Airdrie Inside. I am your host, Chris Glass, and I am sitting here with Airdrie's newest councillor, Chad Stewart. Councillor Chad Stewart, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm not sure if I'm the newest one. We all get elected at the same time, isn't it?
Well, we're all the new guys.
The new guys on the block, exactly. Okay. All right, good.
So I wanted to have you on the podcast, not only because you're one of Airdrie's city councillors, but because I think you have a fascinating backstory, and I didn't know it ahead of time. I only met you on the campaign trail. You were a very pleasant guy. We were on stage quite a bit together. But getting to know you and getting to know your history, there's so much more to it than what I learned in that short campaign. So I wanted to get to the bottom of it and have you on so people can get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, no, you're going to dig into my life here. Great. Fantastic.
So let's begin with how you ended up in Airdrie.
So I was actually living in Nanaimo, BC, right after graduation. I was building log houses and the market fell out. The economy was trash. I was on EI for about 3 months, and I looked at my wife-to-be at the time, my girlfriend, Summer, and I said, do you want to move to Calgary? My parents live in Airdrie. So do you want to move out to Airdrie? Because everything's happening in Alberta. This was back in 1996.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, a long time ago. And without a beat, she said, yes, absolutely. I think she wanted to get away from her family and her mom and that sort of thing, right? So
yeah,
it was easy so we came out here and lived with my parents for a year, bought a house, and then I started working. I started working almost instantly, actually, when I came to Airdrie. I started working at the airport hotel as a maintenance guy for the summer.
So the Delta at the...
it used to be called Canadian Pacific Hotel.
Yeah, okay,
CP.
yes.
Yeah. Got a job there working maintenance almost right away. And then...
what years were you at the airport?
So I was 96 to probably 98 when I got hired at Eaton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we barely missed each other because I started in the year 2000 with WestJet at that airport. So I didn't know we had an airport connection.
So that job was only a contract for the summer, but they had a bell desk guest service job open up. So I was a bellman for a little bit. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
All the tourists and stuff, got to talk to lots of people, learn some cool things. And then I went to the guest service desk as well. But hours, because being the low guy on the totem pole, you don't get many hours. And so we just bought a house over in Springdale Circle, a little single wide mobile, just kind of a starter home. And I have no idea how I qualified for it, honestly. I got on a part-time income. My wife was working, I think, KFC at the time or whatever, right? Just trying to make ends meet. And so I'm like, well, I need to get another job. So I put out like 4 resumes. I got 4 job offers, and one was at Eaton. And so I started there on January 5th, 1998 in manufacturing. No clue what I was doing, but it was a great opportunity. So
now that career served you very well.
It did, yes. Yeah, that career was 26 and a half years long. I just retired in 2024, May 31st. And I made it all the way, worked through the plant. They trained me, educated me, put me through university, that sort of thing, right? I got the production management before retiring from that position. Yeah. So that was a great job.
It's kind of a throwback to a different era where people spend 24 years with one employer. I mean...
You know, it was amazing, actually, because they still had a defined benefit plan.
Oh,
and that's what
yeah.
I've got. So that retirement package I took as a payout, and it's a Lira now, a locked-in retirement plan with my investor, and he's investing that and growing that for me because, again, it was all company purchased the plan and stuff. They're actually phasing that out in 2027, so to retire early wasn't an issue for me. And so I thought I'd retire and focus on, which I'm sure you're going to ask me questions about the fire department, how
Absolutely,
that happened.
That's coming up next.
So, yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, working with the people in manufacturing was great. I started on the floor, and then I went to production coordinator, and then went to supervisor and production manager and stuff. So it was good.
Well, I love those stories where you get to start at the ground level and having a good attitude and having a good work ethic, you're able to move forward. I spent 20 years with the same company with WestJet, and to start young and then end up retiring with gray hair is kind of a unique experience that I don't think.
And being supported by the company itself, right?
Yeah.
These are the retirement packages from the 50s, right? Then a lot of our parents, probably ended up claiming and stuff like that, right? That had gone away probably in the 80s, 90s. They started going to like a defined contribution plan, right? Which is what Eaton's going to now, but it took them forever. I'm like, I'm so glad it did. I'm like, ooh, I got it on the ground floor. So yeah.
Now that you're set, you've decided to run into buildings that are on fire.
Well, that was in the interim. So about 10 years into my job at Eaton. Yeah, exactly 10 years. Because I got hired at Rockview County Fire in 2008, December 15th, 2008. How that came about was, I was in production coordination. I was doing some things. And it's a great job because it keeps your mind going all the time. You're always doing different stuff, right? But I was starting to get complacent and bored a little bit.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine came to my plant, which I was running at the time, coordinating, and he had these medical textbooks on at lunchtime. And I'm like, what are those? What are you looking at? He's like, well, this is EMT. I'm like, well, what's an EMT? He's like, those are emergency medical technicians. You guys on the ambulance. I'm like, oh, sounds interesting. I might want to do that. So I signed up like a week later, and then I went and got my EMT, which they call primary care paramedic, back in 2007. Is actually, I think I got my registration, and then I got offered a job at Calgary EMS before it became Alberta Health Services.
Yeah,
and I got cold feet. My kids were young at the time, and it was days and nights, 2 on, 2 off, or 4 on, 4 off, days and nights. And I was kind of like a little concerned about that. And so I respectfully declined the position. But then I thought, well, I paid all this money to get this training and I want to use it. What else can I do? And my buddy, who was, he was actually a volunteer at Airdrie Fire Department. They're just transitioning to, I think, full-time at the time, pretty quickly thereafter. And he said, well, at Rockview County's hiring firefighters, why don't you apply there? And their standards were like super low at that time. And so I applied for Rockview and they hired me. And then they had what's called a 1001 course going on like right away. Cost me a couple grand. I scraped every nickel and dime I could to get that training because it's a $20,000 course, but they were offering it within the county. And so I thought, this is great. So I started working there as a part-timer, scheduling shifts around my full-time work. That's kind of how I got started in the fire department. I never had ever been on a fire truck before. This is an interesting story. This story is famous throughout the county. My first shift, I show up. And Captain Hoff, who just retired from Rockview County after a number of years, he looked at me and says, what do you know about fire trucks? And dead honest, I was looking at him and I said, they're red? Like, that's seriously, like, I was being funny, but...
My 2-year-old has the same knowledge right now. He got a new fire truck from his Uncle Willie and loves it.
Yeah. And so that was an honest answer, but I was still kind of being tongue-in-cheek with it. But he's like, okay, well, we'll get you some training. So he threw a BA on me, a breathing apparatus on me that day. He gave me 2 hours of training. Later on that day, I was like on the end of a nozzle putting out fire. Like, we would never do that stuff now. Now it's you have to have your 1001, level 2. You have to be a probationary firefighter. You have to be under, like, I have a probationary firefighter working with me that I actually is under kind of my wing right now. So things have changed a lot. And it's gotten better, obviously, at the county. But for me, it was a great opportunity to get my foot in the door and just really fall in love with this job. And then, so any opportunity I had for training, I took it. Rockview County at the time didn't pay for training except for that 1001 course they put us through. Additional training on top was my responsibility. So I got my ICS, my Incident Command System, 100, 200, 300, paid for those myself. I got my pump course. I got my officer level 1 training, my instructor training, all that stuff, because I wanted to make a go of this career.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're still an active firefighter, right? How has the job changed? You kind of alluded to the training and the standards being higher, but give me a little bit more on that. How have you seen it evolve since 2007? Yeah.
So for me, we had, so our pay wasn't very good back then. I mean, if I told you what I got paid, you'd be shocked for the things that we were doing and stuff. Because we weren't unionized at the time, and I don't think administration or council knew exactly what was going on with their staffing and stuff, because they were growing too. They were just building the mall at the time, Crossrail Mills Mall. They were told by the Alberta government, listen, if you don't start protecting it, you're going to lose these annexation battles continually to Calgary and Airdrie, and so you need to start protecting it. So they built a station over in Balzac, and that first station was like a ranch house with like a garage for apparatus and stuff. That I worked out of that station for the first number of years before they built the headquarters and stuff. So it's changed a lot because now I think the county's on board with like, you know what, we're growing. We need infrastructure. Part of the infrastructure is the fire department. So let's put some money into that. So then their standards started to get higher. We unionized, I think, in 2010-ish area. So our pay got better, our health and safety. The reason we actually went union wasn't necessarily for the pay. I mean, that was great, but it was mainly for health and safety. We didn't even have our own bunker gear at the time. We had to share bunker gear. You had to come in and piece it together, you know, a coat here, a jacket there, make sure they're the same brand and that they fit.
Oh, wow.
Every once in a while, like you'd trade off with the guy because there was only so many helmets. So the guy coming off was the guy with like massive psoriasis. And you're looking at his helmet going, what? You know, so then you spray it down with Wescodine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was where it started. But the county did a great job in growing it and developing it. Administration started to put money into it and started to advocate for the trucks that we needed and for the equipment. So now we got our own gear and everything started to move. And then we got our collective bargaining agreement sorted out with the county. And so things have gotten a lot better. So it's safer now. As far as a dangerous job goes, it's safer than it used to be because
Right.
of
You're still running into fires, but
we are, yeah. It's one of those things where when you get called to a fire, the ambulance follows you, right? You know, not many careers that happens where the ambulance comes with you just in case.
that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
So
Okay, and then so you have this successful career in manufacturing. You have this successful career in fighting fires, and then you decide to throw your name into the political arena.
Yeah.
Walk me through that decision,
Yeah.
because I know it's a very personal decision for everybody. Why now, and what went into that decision?
So about 8 years ago, I knew Peter Brown a little bit, you know, from my sister's boss. Is good friends with Peter, and we had bumped into each other a few times. And he came to our plant actually when he first became mayor in 2010, and I was on the supervisory team at the time. And we sat down and we showed him what we do, and he was really taken by our passion for what we did as a manufacturing organization. And so I got to know him a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down and talk to him what it takes to run for council, that sort of thing. It was about 8 years ago, actually, when I decided to do that, because I was interested in running for city council, see what I can do to help contribute back to the city, right? In different ways. And so he encouraged me to run at that time, but I was running a full-time job. I was working a full-time job, part-time job, and I was also writing books at the time as well, because I decided
we're going to get to that.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Excellent. So he encouraged me to run because I said, I don't have a business degree. You know, I'm not in business. I don't own a business, that sort of thing, right? Normally, I'm not a lawyer. Normally, politicians are of certain, it's not the traditional path, right? And he goes, yeah, but what you are is a leader. He says, we need leaders in city council.
Yeah.
And so he encouraged me to run at that point, but I decided against it because I was running full out. My kids were young still at the time, doing all this other stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to wait and we'll see. I'm still young. Maybe down the road, an opportunity will present itself. So fast forward 8 years later, I decided, you know, I'm going to retire from Eaton, and I'm just going to do fire full time, because I'm still a part-time member at Rocky View County, but I can basically, because
you could flex up.
I can do basically full-time hours for the most part, almost full-time hours at the county. And if I work out my financial situation, I should be able to take a pretty decent pay cut actually from the plant and be able to run my life and enjoy what I'm doing and free up some time. And with that free time, it's almost like being semi-retired, because we only work 7 or 8 days a month. We work a 24-hour shift, get 2 off, work 24, get 4 off, right? So it's a really, really good lifestyle job in that way. Still working a lot of hours, but they're condensed. So then obviously the election time comes up, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I think time's right, because I have all this extra time. I was retired for probably a year before the election. And then I thought, well, I have all this extra time. Maybe it's time to throw my name in the hat. I have no idea what I'm doing, but, you know, let's just try it out here.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, how was the campaign? Because I have my view on it and my lens and what I saw it through. But what was your take on the campaign and how you went through it? What did you think?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. It was a lot. There was a lot of emails every day, as you know, answering all these emails from residents, concerns and that sort of thing. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of like meandering through. I asked questions a few times to incumbents and other individuals who kind of maybe have been in the political field before. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get a broad reach. I'm going to do like some radio ads. I'm going to do the Discover Airdrie sponsored article. I'm going to do flyers, door knocking. Peter Brown said, listen, if you got to door knock. If you want to win this thing, you have to door knock. And I said, okay, Peter, I'm going to go door knock, right? So I got some brochures and stuff and some signage. I didn't know how many signs. Then you came out with your signs, and I'm like, I'm thinking woefully under signed here.
Or maybe somebody was slightly oversigned.
Or somebody was oversigned. But I always take the positive stance first, right? So, but yeah, it was good. And then doing the forums, a little bit nerve-wracking at first. I'm used to talking in front of individuals, and I'm a pretty sociable guy, so I didn't think that was going to be too much of an issue, and it wasn't. But what I really enjoyed was just talking to people.
Yeah.
I was usually the last candidate out of the room afterwards when we mingled around, and they were kind of kicking us, closing the doors. I was one of the last guys out because I just had these enjoyable conversations with people, and I just loved it. I didn't do a website because I was thinking, website's kind of old, passé and stuff like that. and then one person, actually, I think it was, I think she was Heather's campaign manager. I didn't know this till later. But she asked me all these questions, and she liked kind of what I said. But then afterwards, she's like, why don't you have a website? I vowed to never vote for anyone without a website. This is.
I remember a post to that, and I'm like, oh, thank God I paid the money for the website.
This is Marie Laurie, and she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed out, and she left the third email. She didn't leave me her phone number for any of the other emails. The third email, she left me her phone number. I thought, you know what? Words are a leaking container of thoughts. I'm going to give her a call. And so I gave her a call, and I said, hey, Marie's chat here. I just wanted to answer your question about the website. And quite sheepishly, I'm like, listen, I'm not a technological guy. I can run social media. They make that kind of user-friendly. I'm still not sure what I'm doing there most of the time, but I didn't feel I had the finances to hire because it cost me a lot for the signs and everything else.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know anyone who could build a website. So I thought, you know what? I just won't do the website. I'll do social media. I'll do the events and stuff like that, right? And she said, I vowed to never vote for anyone without a website. So after the election, and I won, she wrote back to me. She said, congratulations, you win. By the way, I voted for you.
Even though you didn't have a website.
And she was really, really gracious and awesome. So so it was a bit of a funny point there, but it was good. It was a grind right to the end. And on that, I know a lot of candidates were burnt out at the end, but the Sunday before the election, I went out door knocking, and I hit 461 doors on that night.
Wow.
I got rid of the rest of my brochures because I kept thinking, one more vote. If I could just impact the life of one more person, if I could just get in front of one more person. I only won by 75 votes. So I have to believe that last effort
that got you across the line for sure.
Yeah, I think so. For the most part anyway. But yeah, it was good.
So now you've been about 3 months on the job. So it's funny because I know some of the answers to these questions from my experience, but for those 3 months, what's it been like so far?
It's been a big learning curve for sure. People tell me you're going to be drinking from a fire hose. I'm like, hey, bring it on. I'm used to fire hoses,
I'm used to fire hoses. It's my life.
Yeah, let's do this. But the information's been fantastic. I'm learning stuff about government that I never knew before, particularly municipal government. And, for those of people that are going to be listening to this or seeing it in the future, really, really think about the differences between municipal, provincial, and federal. The municipal government has the most effect on your life day to day.
Yeah.
Every day. We're the ones that make those decisions about infrastructure, about roads, about water, about tax levels, all that stuff. And traffic. It's the most underrepresented in the vote of all of the politics. Right. And even talking to some individuals who have gone provincial from municipal, they say they much prefer municipal because it has they're down on the ground with the people all the time, and they're able to affect a change positively in their lives.
Yeah, if you're not a cabinet minister or on that level, sometimes it can take 10 years to really get anything not accomplished per se, but like your own skin in the game kind of thing. Whereas in municipal politics, you have to do that right away. I mean,
exactly.
What was the first thing you were asked to do after your council meeting was to vote on a budget, right?
Yeah.
And learn $500 million budget.
Here's all these binders. Here's everything that the administration put together. Here, we got to vote on this thing, right? So you got to get educated really fast on it. But the administrative staff of Airdrie have been fantastic. I mean, they've been really good. Just high level, high skilled individuals, very intelligent. They're really excited about building a city and doing city building stuff. And it's super exciting to be part of that. And, we ask the tough questions, obviously, because, this is taxpayer money. We represent the taxpayers. It's actually interesting. I was at an event. There was a holiday, end of year holiday party for administration and all the employees of the city. And so I went. chatting and somebody had mentioned about being a city employee. And I said, well, I'm not actually a city employee. I get paid by the city, but I'm actually employed by the people who voted for us, by the residents. I'm working for them and you're working for them and all of council's working for them.
Yeah.
Right. So in that way, we work for the citizens through administration and executing the vision that we have for our city. So yeah, it's been exciting.
Now, I know council's going to go away in February and do strategic planning and come up with what the next 4 years look like. But as an individual councillor, what are you hoping to accomplish in the next 4 years?
Well, there's a lot on the go already in Airdrie. So I want to see a lot of that executed, like the capital projects that we're working on.
Right.
I want to see taxes remain at a low level as well, because there's a lot of hurting people in Airdrie, right? And we need to support them as well, and we can't be overburdening them. I'd like to see more businesses. I just actually received the economic development update today, and it always has. These are more commercial business, 6 more commercial businesses, 31 individual businesses. And, it's exciting for me to see that, because it tells me that we're going to be able to take some of that burden off of resident taxpayers and put it on kind of businesses as well that are coming to Airdrie. We need more businesses. We want people to live, work, breathe, eat, and do everything in Airdrie. And I think we're on
or
the
at least
path to
have
do
that option.
Or have that option, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously Calgary has some great amenities and stuff, but let's make Airdrie a northern hub for all those amenities and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but one thing I wanted to accomplish, but I just think it's there's just so much potential here, and I'm super excited for the future. I'm excited for 2026 and for the years ahead.
Yeah, it sure seems like a very bright, pivotal time for our city, and it needs to be on the forefront of it.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be elected. I think it's scary, right? Because there's, like you said, $500 million budget. I feel the weight of that every single day, thinking that, I'm one of 7 that's responsible for that.
Yeah.
And residents have entrusted us with that. So that is very serious for me.
The thing that really stuck out about I guess the weight of the situation of being a city councilor is when we were told that you're basically the board of directors for a $500 million company. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes it very real.
Thanks, not too much pressure. Come on, man, it's my second day.
Yeah, and that was on the second day. You're right.
Pretty much.
Okay, so that's what a successful term would look like. I want to touch on some other things that people might not know about Chad Stewart. Not the councillor Chad Stewart, not the fireman Chad Stewart, firefighter Chad Stewart. I want to talk about the author Chad Stewart. So tell me a little bit about your passion for writing and novels that you've written.
So it's interesting. So back in about 2016-ish, I think it was, or even a little bit before that, I've always loved to write. I've always loved to create stories. In high school in English, I didn't study a lot in school. I was one of those guys who just loved to be there.
Yeah.
I barely graduated and stuff like that, but I wasn't dumb. I just didn't apply myself.
Yeah.
But whenever it came up to English, and I had to create a story, it was always this fantastical story that I created and wrote it down. I always did really well on it and stuff. So I always had that drive, passion, that love for it. But in like I said, about the 2016 or so, I decided to write a book on job interviewing, because I was a supervisor at the plant and I was interviewing these positions, and a lot of young people didn't know how to conduct themselves in a job interview. And so I wrote this little 62-page book called How to Rock the Job Interview. It's a guy with a guitar in the front of it and stuff. You can get it on Amazon if you want to. But it's just basically a funny rubber hits the road sort of practical guide to being able to how to navigate yourself through a STAR interview, right? Which I call STAR. I always take the T out because it doesn't make much sense to me, right? Yeah. I think they call it STAR just so because you're a STAR candidate.
Situation, task, action, response.
Yeah. But you know what? You don't even need the task in there. Situation, action, result. Narrowed down, right? People love it. So anyway, so I wrote that little book, and I thought, this is kind of fun, right? But my real passion is fiction. I love fiction. And so I thought, when I was like 12, I had these crazy adventures in these forests and stuff like that. And my imagination would take off, and I would have these awesome. We didn't have all the appliances we have today, all the social media and phones and stuff like that, right? So we had to make our own fun. So I thought, what if I wrote a book about a 12-year-old named Dylan Hunt, and he has this incredible imagination. But behind Dylan Hunt's imagination, there's actually something there, because he always sees and observes things that others don't. He can find stuff that seems impossible to find, right? So what if there's something more to Dylan Hunt? And so I said, what if a secret organization called the Orion Group knew about Dylan's special abilities and they conscripted him, but they wanted to do it secretly? So what if his father wins a trip to Desert Oasis Resort because they have a missing man in Desert Oasis Resort that they need to find? So what if Dylan and his family go to Desert Oasis Resort and then all hell breaks loose for Dylan? And he gets contacted by Derek Vico, who ends up being an agent and ends up being his handler and stuff like that. And Dylan helps him find this missing person, right? And I thought, what if I made this a series? So then I wrote The Mask of Time after that. And then I wrote the Dylan Hunt and the Artificial Intelligence. So he ages. It's kind of like Dylan Hunt and Harry Potter, where he ages throughout the series and stuff.
Right.
And he finds out in the second book why he has these special abilities and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. And then I wrote a prequel to it called Enter Orion, Heart of the Diablo, which is like Derek Vico's backstory. It's kind of got like a sad backstory where his wife died and they were working together with this organization. Didn't want anything to do with Orion, and he gets pulled back in to save his dead wife's sister who went missing on a mission and stuff. Like, so it's just crazy stuff. Like,
it's a whole world.
Oh, it's a whole world in my head, and it's just like I got to get this out on page. So I did that, and then a friend of mine at the fire hall had this nightmare one day. Yeah, he had this nightmare. So he went to France to visit his grandma, and she lives in a small town in the French Alps. And, small towns, no one locks their cars or their doors or whatever, right? Well, at night, she's like, it's time to go to bed. She starts deadbolting and locking like all these locks on the door and locking the windows. And he's like, Grandma, what are you doing in a small town? And she's like, She wouldn't tell him. And so he went to bed that night, and he had this terrible nightmare about what possibly his grandmother was afraid of. And these houses are cool in the French Alps because they're like these small houses, but down in the basement, there's like which is the barn. The barn is connected to the house by like this door that goes down there. And then there's kind of a cellar. And then there's a door that goes into the main street so you can access the barn from the main street. So it's kind of a weird little setup of the house or whatever. And so he tells me this, and I'm like, dude, there's a story in there. You need to write that. And he's actually an archaeologist by trade. That's what he's trained for. He's got a master's in it and such. And so he said, I'm a scholastic writer. I'm not a narrative writer. I don't want you to write this for me, right? Or write this. Here, you run with it. And so I create a main character. I create a plot. I create the whole story. I develop the town and make it bigger than what it is. I put people in the town, the mayor and everything else, right? And that took his seed of his idea and made it into this story called The Pact, which is done really well, which is the one I'm actually trying to pitch to Hollywood right now. I've gone through 4 pitches so far to make it into a movie. So it's in script form as well too right now. And so I create this whole story, and it's actually being received really, really well by people. And I've never written a horror story before, a horror thriller, but most people are like, I think this is your thing. Like this is a really good book. So it's a horror, thriller, action, mystery kind of adventure, the whole thing wrapped up in one. And it's pretty well paced, and it keeps you thinking from chapter to chapter and makes you want to kind of carry on with the story. So people are calling for a second one. I'm starting to think about in my mind what a second book for The Pact would look like. So yeah, so it keeps me busy. I love it. It's one of the stress relievers. Don't make enough money to do it full time right now at this point in time or whatever, but you know what? It's one of those things I can do.
How long does it take you to write a book? Like, how long does it take you to go from I've developed this concept to I am ready to submit to my editor and get it on Amazon or get it into chapters?
That varies. So I'm a big believer in self-discipline and daily activity. Little things daily will get you a big project later.
Yeah.
So I tell people because I've spoken at schools before and other events about being a local author. And I said, if you write 1,000 words a day, which takes an average author anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour if they know where they're going, right? 1,000 words a day, you can write a novel, 90,000 novel in 3 months.
Huh.
You can. So you can write 3 books a year, 4 books a year if you are that disciplined. And I always plan mine out. So when I go to write my story, I know where I'm going. So I can write 1,000 words in like an hour. It's not a problem. Have I ever written a book in 3 months? No. But I've written in 6 months, 9 months. It doesn't take much. When you think about it, I've been writing since about 2016. So what has that been? 9 years? 9 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I've got 5 published novels. And I've got a self-help book, the interview book. And I got 3 inspirational books published.
Very cool.
So in 9 years, that's a lot of work, but I didn't do it all at once. I did it in little spots here and there. Actually, the Dylan Hunt book and the Enter Orion, I wrote that almost exclusively at 15-minute break times and 30-minute break times at the plant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you just take your time and back then, were you actually writing or was it being typed out? Like,
it was being typed out. I'd bring my computer to work. I'd look at the clock. Okay, it's my 15-minute break. I'd go lock myself into an office and I'd write for 15 minutes. Okay, back to work. Come back half hour, I'd cram a sandwich in my mouth as I'm writing and stuff like that. And then I'd go home and maybe write for a little bit longer afterwards. Those 2 books came together fairly quickly.
Wow, that's I had a film director on, Jeremy Pollack, who is here in town as well, and I'm always so blown away by how deep the arts and culture community here in Airdrie is, and to see that books like this are being written in our town and movies like this are being made in our city is pretty cool. Like, to hear, like, what a cool story that a sitting city councillor is pitching his book to Hollywood, and it might get made one day.
I always wanted my books to go to screen, and I never knew any avenues. And I got contacted by a group out of Ontario, Omnibus Works, and they said, we think your work would be great for the film. Do you want to join our film track campaign? And I said, sure, I would love to. And so Ed McDonald's been fantastic at working with me on that and just helping develop it, the script, getting me a script writer, all that stuff that's come with it, and just the contacts in Hollywood. And, the people that he puts me up with are people you can Google online, and you see their IMDb profiles, and you see all the stuff they've worked on, right? And it's new movies that we see and know, right? I'm able to talk to these people. Unless you're able to network with somebody, it's very, very exceedingly difficult. So you have somebody like Omnibus Works who's willing to work with an independent author to be able to do this. It's pretty exciting. And then being from Airdrie is even more exciting, because I see so much creative talent here and skill here, and I've worked with them. People at the writers group, a lot of published authors in Airdrie, like you said, a lot of film being done. My son Josh got a film degree from Vancouver Film School. He worked for a month with an Australian company, independent Australian company, and they were basically set up here in Airdrie. They love to come to Airdrie to film and stuff, so he worked with them for a month on their film, and it's great.
Well, yeah, and it's just, like I said, I'm blown away by the talent that takes place in the city all the time. We're almost at time, but I wanted to touch on one thing that I've noticed about you in my time working with you that's very similar to my situation. I have the most supportive wife possible when it comes to politics and all of the stuff that I'm doing. You have something similar with Summer, and I see her there all the time. So what's it like to have somebody in your corner like her?
So we're entering the political realm at this time as an elected official was perfect on all fronts, including with my wife, because I have 3 adult children. They actually live in Lethbridge, and my youngest is 17. So they don't need a lot from me anymore. They don't need a lot from her. Like we went through all those phases of life where we raised them and we spent a lot of time with them. So now whenever I go to an event, I'm like, hey, I got invited to this event. Do you want to come with me? And I bring her everywhere.
Yes, you do.
And as you notice, I bring my dog too.
Yes.
Dice, he's awesome. But I bring her everywhere because I know she would love those, because she's very sociable too, right? And so she enjoys engaging in that and then getting out and seeing the people. We sacrificed a lot through the years raising our children, and we didn't get a lot of that out time. But as Heather said when we first got elected, our social calendar is going to be the hottest ever around, because you're invited to everything, which is fantastic, because then I get to meet these great individuals in Airdrie, like just exciting, super amazing people. And I get to talk to everyone, and it's great. And so she tries to come to almost every event that we go to. So she's super supportive, and she's learned over time. I just do stuff, right? I was going to use another word for that, but I just do stuff, and she just runs with it. She's like, well, is Chad just doing stuff again? He's just gonna go out and try something new or whatever, and it usually ends up being something amazing. So it's not me. It's just like, I don't know. I just go, and she's always supported that. So.
Well, I do see the patience and the love with her, so that's fantastic to see. Chad, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm wishing you the best in the next 4 years as a
wishing
colleague.
You the best too.
And as an Airdronian, and yes, thank you very much.
Is it Airdronian? Some people are upset about it. Or is it Airdrieite?
No, it's absolutely Airdronian. This was a creation a couple of years ago. This debate took place with...
There was an actual debate on this?
There was an actual debate, but there is no... There is no debate as far as I'm concerned. It's been Airdronian. It's always been Airdronian. Reese Cortman, you're probably listening to this.
Yeah.
You can tell the history better than anybody can, but it is Airdronian.
Maybe we need a football team called the Airdronians or something.
I think if the CFL is going to open a team here, I think the Airdronians, I love it. Perfect, Chad. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
And we're going to be back with more great episodes next week here on Airdrie Inside.